everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
Stop. Black Americans are being hunted and murdered in Mississippi. I'm going to say that again because it's horrifying, and the mainstream media is too busy allowing the Trump administration to dominate the news cycle, lying about the economy, downplaying the war, ignoring the health outbreaks, and the upcoming healthcare cuts to take even a moment to talk about the Black people being targeted for death in the state of Mississippi. And before you say I'm being hyperbolic about this, if we had this many unexplainable deaths of white children happening in one state, you know the media would be losing their collective minds. One beautiful white girl was killed by an undocumented immigrant, and the Republican Party ran their entire election and then wrote an aggressive immigration bill in her name. But we are watching Black person after Black person after Black person lose their lives under unexplained circumstances, many of them being found strung up in trees, and no foul play is being called by the police or the medical examiner or any investigative reporters. I need you to stay with me on this because I understand this is very uncomfortable. But it is essential that we understand what is really happening, especially if you look like me, or you live in the South, or you have a family member, or you yourself are in law enforcement. When someone Black ends up hung for no discernible reason, in questionable circumstances, with no indication the victim was suicidal, that's what's called lynching. But when this happens in a state that refused to pass a standalone anti-lynching bill in 2026, the state that didn't ratify the 13th Amendment formally abolishing slavery until 1995, 130 years after it was passed by Congress, and didn't even make it official until 2013 because of a clerical error, when this kind of thing happens in the state that recorded more lynchings than any U.S. state between 1882 and 1968, with at least 581 documented racial terror killings, the only state that banned Sesame Street because they didn't like white and Black children being shown playing together, then you start to see a pattern and a major problem. The adults in charge of Mississippi seem determined to keep their generations of hate and division going strong, and people are dying because of it. We have endless media discussion and laws and attention paid to the 14 trans people who might want to play college sports in America. We have multiple made-up think pieces about the unacceptable rise of non-existent communism. But 10 Black people found hanging from trees in one state isn't a cause for concern? Why? We know why. And to be clear, it looks like at least 13 Black people have been found hanging from trees in this country since September 2024, most of them declared self-inflicted by authorities. But the Black community has been determined to point out that Black people do not hang themselves from trees, that historically that is something that has been done to them. And we know that because one of the most recent deaths was Tysa Fortune, who was found hanging so high in a tree that the authorities needed a fire truck to get her down. It's pretty obvious that girl didn't do that to herself. But who did? Who would be able to do such a thing? And why did no one see anything? Because that's odd, right? Especially when we can track pretty much anyone anywhere now with those horrible flock cameras. But in this case, nothing. And when these deaths are ruled a suicide, or alternatively not foul play, no one ends up looking for the commonality between the deaths. Evidence isn't collected or compared. A pattern isn't established. If these hangings had been ruled murders or even cause of death unknown, then maybe there would be some progress in justice. But here, no, nothing. Remember, this is the same state, and in many cases, the same medical examiner who seemed incredibly cagey on the recent death of Nolan Xavier Wells, the brilliant, beautiful Black teenager who went missing and then was found dead after going out with his white friends on the 4th of July. The same white friends who came home without him, the same ones who can't get their story straight, and the same ones who one of their moms is a local judge. In fact, I think the country's preoccupation with the death of Nolan Wells is surprising to the powers that be in Mississippi, because Black people have been ending up dead in their states since forever, and things just move along, but not this one. Because the world is watching this one now, and there's a lot more questions than there are answers. Mississippi needs to be on every American's radar because Black people are being murdered there. Because there is no federal oversight on local law enforcement, because so far we don't even have media coverage or congressional action. As Reverend Whitfield of Gulfport, Mississippi, a very close friend of the Wells family, recently said, justice cannot thrive in the shadows. When an 18-year-old's life is lost under troubling circumstances, transparency is not a privilege to be granted. It is a public obligation. We owe Nolan Wells and his family and every citizen nothing less than a complete, impartial, and transparent investigation. Truth is the foundation on which justice stands. Every single person who ends up dead, no matter their creed, their color, their religion, whatever, deserves this kind of attention. It's just that Black people in Mississippi rarely get it, and none of us should be okay with that. There are people right now living among us who are lynching Black people. And if you know someone who is doing this, think someone might be doing this, have any information on what might be going on, then you need to speak up. And I understand that's hard in a state like Mississippi when it's often assumed that law enforcement and the justice system are complicit, but then go to the FBI. And I know the FBI is a shell of what it once was, but we cannot continue to do nothing. I would also like to remind you that in recent statewide elections, Democrats came within 3 percentage points of winning in Mississippi. Like many southern states, Mississippi is not red, it is blue suppressed, which means Mississippi is not irredeemable, but it needs our attention because this is what systemic racism looks like in practice. This is what happens when racism is built into a system brick by brick. And this is what must finally come to an end. The time has come to stop turning a blind eye. The time has come for justice.
Hey man, sister, what it do, everyday people, man? It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit video. All right, man. I'ma just say this. This has been going on for so long, but the biggest injustice that in my lifetime that I've seen happen in Mississippi was Ray Gibson and Claude Banks. They were two guys from New York who went to run some hooch down there to Mississippi, and they were, Ray was like a gambler. Okay, Ray was a gambler, and he lost all their money that they were supposed to buy the hooch with and drive it back to New York, or I think they was going down there to sell it or bring it back. I think it was going down there to sell it, one or the other. But anyway, they ended up running into the guy who robbed them for their money, but he was dead. And they don't know how he died, but come to find out he was killed by a sheriff. And then that sheriff ended up being governor later on. So yeah, crazy injustice has been going on for a long time. But I bet y'all like, what? Who is Claude Banks? Y'all ain't seen the movie Life, have y'all? But anyway, yeah, man. Shout out to this lady for actually pointing a lot of that stuff out. I think what we need to do is we just gotta continue to try to move forward with and be vigilant and not let these people names die. But man, it's hard to be like we can get past racism. It's hard to be people to be like we need to get over slavery. It's hard to be like there's no systemic racism when you still see traces of it coming up on the news. When I watch these body cam videos and or any video and I could see a white man chasing a police down and they pull out his taser and the guy just rips the tasers out of him and still chasing, starts beating on the police. And then the other police come in and grab him up and they arrest him. But then it's a kid that was having a mental health issue in Edmond, Oklahoma. He was 18 years old and he was gunned down by police because he was running around butt naked. I guess they ain't never seen a thing that big, and it was deadly to him, and they was just like they had to take him down. They couldn't use a taser. They had to use deadly force. They couldn't use a beanbag. they had to use deadly force. So when we see stuff like that, nobody's life was in immediate danger by a man running around naked. Not a man, an 18-year-old boy. Even though he's considered an adult, he still had a lot of life to become a man. But that's the first step, was running around naked. So they took his life. But here's another thing, right? There was a white kid, who robbed a store. He robbed a store on I-240 and Western on the south side of Oklahoma City. I don't know if the store was open or it was closed, but whatever the case may be, he was jumping out of the window then the police were outside. He was jumping out the drive-through window, because these places got drive-through windows at the convenience stores. And a gun fell out his pocket. The police shot his ass. They shot him like 19 times or something like that. Something crazy excessive, right? The family sued for $800,000. Oklahoma City taxpayers paid his family $800,000. Mind you, he robbed a store. He had a gun on him. And the gun fell out his pocket and he was shot 19 times. So it's still an injustice, regardless of whatever. He didn't deserve to die. And it was kind of overkill. And actually, when the gun fell out of his pocket, there was no immediate danger to kill him like that. But it is what it is. So injustices have to happen to white people by the hands of cops too. So I'm not saying that all cops do this to black people. It happen. These cops are just terrible cops. I know y'all seen the video of the cop where the acorn fell on top of the car and the cop just started shooting into the vehicle, and he said he was shot. Then he hit the ground and he was like, I'm hit. Hit by what? An acorn? Man, if you don't shut. But you know what happens when cops do foul stuff? They get released from that department, and guess what they do? They go to the next county over and go get a job. Listen, man. But anyway, I guess there's something happening in Mississippi that needs to be investigated. The FBI really needs to step in. But when something this corrupt is happening, you would think in 2026 we would be past this, or it would be easier to pinpoint when injustices happen, and not just to black people, to any citizen of the United States. There's a lot of things. We have rights, people, whether you're black, white, or other. If you're a citizen of the United States, you have rights, and those shouldn't be patronized by by city officials and police officers and district attorneys and judges. But when they have your life in their hands, and you in Mississippi, it's a good chance you ain't gonna make it out of it. I was just watching something. I didn't save it because it really wasn't noteworthy or reaction worthy. But I guess it's a prison that's paying people $1 something an hour or that people in prison paying them $1 something an hour, and they're using prison labor to run this chicken farm or something like that. And I'm like, damn, $1 something an hour. So you telling me in a 40-hour work week I can get $40? When I was in prison, I got $12 an hour. I mean, not $12 an hour, $12 a month. $12 a month. And they had my black ass out there cutting down trees. Okay? You talking about labor. And we worked for Halliburton. Halliburton is an oil and gas company. We was clearing out the trees around the railroad tracks. Halliburton makes billions. And we was getting paid $12 a month. And they was actually paying the prison $20 a day per body. Crazy work. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section.
Everyday people.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as fast as 1 week.